Welcome to the first episode of the Rebuilding the Black Family podcast. Thank you for joining us. My name is Karl Lewis, pastor of Foundation for Life Church in the city of Toronto, Ontario, Canada, founder of Foundation for Life Christian Ministries, an organization dedicated to teaching families, training leaders, and transforming communities. We're thrilled that you've joined us for our first podcast. And the premise, why rebuilding the black family? Well, the premise is this: if we don't build our families and our communities, no one else will. And also, a strong, productive, successful, prosperous black family and black community will also lead to a strong, prosperous, self-sufficient communities at large. So, we want to thank you for joining us on Rebuilding the Black Family. What you're going to learn on this podcast is that we want to build a strong foundation so that your family and my family, we can be really prosperous generationally. And joining me on this journey is Mr. David Grant, a professional counselor, psychotherapist, social worker, mental health professional. I want him to introduce himself, but I'm really thrilled that he's joining me on this journey. And I'm telling you, don't miss any of our episodes. David, thanks for joining
Brother
me.
Karl, thank you for that wonderful intro. And yes, to the listeners, to the viewers, my name is David Grant. I am the co-host of Rebuilding the Black Family podcast. I am a psychotherapist, social worker, counselor, whichever term suits you. I go by many titles. Healer, in some circles. I graduated with a master's in social work in Canada, and I am the founder of Global Mind Emancipation, educational and counseling services, where we provide individual, family, and couples counseling, as well as provide lectures pertaining to educating our various audiences on various issues pertaining to Black people of the African diaspora, from issues related to family and child welfare, to mental health, to understanding history and spirituality, and the list extends. So it is a beauty. It is a pleasure to be able to be with you guys on this journey. We hope you continue to tune in and share, like, and subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all of the other platforms that you will see listed in the description below. So today, we will be discussing the beauty of being Black. What does that mean? The beauty of being African. What does that mean? Right? This will be one of many different topics that we hope you join in and tune into throughout the upcoming weeks. Topics including mental health, Black people's relationship with money, Black maternal health, and the list goes on. So we hope you tune in to our upcoming weeks' topics, as they're big topics. They're very important topics when we're talking about rebuilding holistically the Black family, Black communities. As we know, we are diverse in our cultures and our linguistics, but unfortunately we do have quite a foundationally similar experience of oppression. And how do we navigate that and rebuild things that have been broken, unfortunately, over centuries? But today, we're not talking about the negatives that have happened to Black people. Today, we're not talking about the negatives that, unfortunately, we have struggled with throughout time. Today, we're going to talk about the beauties of being Black. Now, that may be difficult for some people because we have become so accustomed to talking about all the negatives, right? All the negatives that happen to Black people, all the negatives that Black people do, right? And today we want to just take time. We just want to take some time to talk about, what does it mean to be Black on a good realm, in a good realm? What does it mean to be a Black person in our respective society? What is so good about that? What is so good about the way we are? So we want you to join with us today. And it's a challenge, not only for ourselves as the hosts, but also a challenge for you, the listeners, you, the viewers. Can you allot time, a day, a couple minutes, to only talk about the positives of what it means to be Black? Can you fathom doing that? This is what we're going to be discussing today. We want you really remember what is so beautiful about being Black and why we have been discouraged from thinking that way, why we have discouraged one another from thinking that way. And we hope that you enjoy this intellectual, cultural, and even mental exercise as we have this conversation. So, without further ado, Brother Karl, today, the beauty of being black, right? Sounds like such a generic phrase. We know during the 60s and early 70s, there was, black is beautiful, black power, power to the people. We know all those phrases, and we know, especially for me from a psychological realm, we know what that was. We know what the intention was. It was to help us to convince ourselves that it is beautiful to be black, that there is power in being black. What does that mean today when we think of black people and, what we're, who we are today and who we've always been? What are your thoughts on that?
That's a great statement, or maybe a question, because it's pretty broad.
Yeah.
I think it goes from getting up in the morning, not that I'm vain, completely vain, and looking in the mirror and say, man, you look real nice today.
Beautiful. Yep. As the OT Genesis song goes, I look real good today, right? For all my young people, you guys know what I'm talking about. But
But it's that sense of knowing that, you know what, I'm made in the image of God.
Very good.
I am of value. I'm of worth. I am beautiful.
Yes.
I am worthy.
Yes.
I am valued.
Yes.
See, I'm worthy of dignity and respect. So all of that comes to me. I think it starts on the inside. You feeling right about yourself. Feeling good about yourself. I know when people hear you talk like that, they can go on the other spectrum and say, well, there's that braggadocious person. And I've been called that when I got a revelation of who I am.
Yeah.
When you know who you are. But I know the difference between pride and arrogance and confidence. Again, so then the confidence, when you talk about black is beautiful, it's known, yes, I am beautiful.
Yeah, you're seeing yourself as connected to that.
Exactly.
That's to describe you.
And so when you see yourself right, then you know what? I am worthy of dignity. It's like telling my girls from when they were small, I said, never allow anyone to talk down to you. And in fact, I went so far to say, I give you permission, if an adult talks down to you, walk away from them.
Very good.
Now, some people say, well, that's being rude. No. I didn't want them to get used to someone, no matter who they were, to speak down to them.
Yes.
So to me, all of that is involved in black is beautiful.
Wonderful. Wonderful. It's so true when I think of that, yes, I too strive to encourage, but there was always this pride that I had in being black. So yeah, like you, I'll look in the mirror and I'll say, my gosh, look at that chocolate skin, right? My goodness, I have great fluorescent, smooth skin. You know what I mean? That I got from my parents. Like when you look at black adults, right? You look at black adults who are 70, 80, and don't look a day over 40. So true. So true. And we sometimes don't stop to look at how beautiful that is. That there are grown men and women that if it wasn't for some of them their gray hair, or for some of the men their bald head, right, or for whichever, you would never know their age. And even with some of them who have maybe bald heads or really short hair, they have such youthful looking appearances that you can't help but really have to question, how old are you? And when they say, I'm 85, you're like, what? You don't look a day over 40. You don't look a day over 45. And then imagine when you look at our babies. When I look at, I don't mean to toot my own horn, but when people see my kids and they see these beautiful pearly whites, that beautiful, milk chocolate skin, my son and my daughter, and when they look at them, they're like, my gosh. I always say black kids are gorgeous. Call me biased, but I think black kids are some of the most gorgeous babies on the planet. And I would actually be bold enough to say I don't think anybody would disagree with me. Can I say that?
Yeah, you can.
Can I
but
say
you see,
that?
what you're saying, though,
Beautiful.
That is the way you should feel about yourself.
Very good.
And if we go back to, did God make a mistake when he created all the colors? He's the originator of all the colors.
Very good.
So tell me, when we talk like this, then I think we're exalting him and his creation, and we're saying, man, I'm so glad.
Yes.
I came out. This is the way I am. You made me. You must be really happy.
And you know what? Even with that topic, again, should I be so bold enough to bring out historical facts? When we think about God and him creating all the different colors and understanding that we all come from one woman and man. It has continuously been said that the first people on the planet were African.
But we should say this: that is not just someone saying that. That is
Say it.
that is scientifically proven.
Say it.
Okay, so this is not just historical fact.
Come on
we're
now.
talking the scientist. The science is behind it.
Thank
and
you.
so we're talking scientists of every color.
Everyone
do their own research. Have said it.
Reluctantly.
But some of them very clearly. I
Yes.
mean, very boldly in their books. And also, this is not new truth.
This is not new truth.
If you check the documents out, people have known this over 100 years ago.
Unfortunately, it's
And
been
even before that.
concealed
Exactly.
from many other people. But as you said, in all that encompassing understanding of the creation of the first people and where we derive from, place-wise and human and people-wise, it has consistently been that African people, naturally from Africa, in terms of location, some say it's in the region that we called Ethiopia, which encompassed today's Ethiopia and Kenya and Botswana, basically that southern eastern part of Africa. Regardless of what we want to debate, first people look like you and me. And black people need to understand that. Because before we are looking towards any other group for validation, we have to look at ourselves as the oldest living people on this planet. We come from the oldest lineage the world has ever known. That without us, there would be no world.
And
population.
And think about this, though, because all of this, there is a genius behind it. There is an intelligence behind it.
Yes.
Now, the scientists and all the color experts, they know this.
Yes.
There's only one color from which all other colors can come. We're just talking, and that is black.
Light.
So you understand, so people look at it out of bias.
Yep.
And out of prejudice.
Yep.
And maybe sometimes out of an evil intention, we don't want to face the truth. And that's
Yes.
another thing why we want you to, our listeners, please understand, this is about the truth. This is about communicating truth.
We're not trying to be revisionists, as
Exactly.
one would say.
Yeah. And so the biggest thing is this: we want to make sure that we're communicating truth, not hate, not bitterness. We're not into that. But we understand this: truth is what sets you free.
Yep.
Truth is what liberates you. But also, David, sometimes the truth is hard to accept.
But I'm happy you brought that up, Karl, because it can be so easy to buy into the anti-black or anti-African propaganda, to internalize it.
Exactly.
And not stop and say, wait a minute. That's just exactly what it is, propaganda. It's lies, right? It's looking at, well, what are they trying to hide from me? Why would they lie to me?
And not accepting, let's get into this point, and I'm so glad you kept us on track, by the way, to realize, no, out of that came the realization, no, black is beautiful.
Very good.
You are beautiful the way you are.
Yes.
You see, you don't need to adopt something else. And that's what we're telling you today.
Yes.
that black is beautiful.
You don't need to change who you are.
That's right.
You don't need to manipulate any part of yourself to try to run away from who you are, because what are you running away from? You're running away from beauty to go where? Because it's one thing if you're running away from something bad, but what about being black is bad? And if you think something about being black is bad, well, who taught you that?
That's right.
As brother Al-Hajj Malik al-Shabazz, better known as Malcolm X, said, who taught you that? Hate the color of your skin. Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose? Who taught you that? And why would somebody teach you that? Because again, we want to get back to, what were they trying to hide from you? What were they trying to hide? What were they trying to hide from me, from you? Why would they try to discourage us from chanting a innocent phrase like black is beautiful? Like Black Lives Matter. Just matter, not
Just
more
matter.
than, just
matter.
matter.
Yeah.
Because our lives are beautiful.
But you know what you're doing? You started this out by saying, let's name those things that are beautiful. I think that's, and I was thinking about the way you posed it is listing those things.
Okay.
And when you look at, when I hear the word black is beautiful, then to me it's multifaceted. I'm sharp. I'm quick.
Who?
I'm highly intelligent.
Come on.
Isn't that what you tell your children?
Oh,
That's what we're
all the
telling them
time.
we're always telling them.
All the time.
You're sharp, you're quick, you're beautiful. You think about this, how strong you are.
Yes.
The black man is.
Oh my gosh, the strongest on the
That's
planet.
strong.
The strong, and again, we could say that maybe I'm exaggerating that black people are that's what people may say, but then I say, well, prove me wrong, right? Physically, look at every single athletic event there is, and I say every single. I'd be so bold to say every single because everything a black person touches, not only do we do it well, we excel. We excel. We do it beyond expectations. Golf. Black people never imagine themselves playing golf. And look at who the greatest golfer is, even if he wants to admit he's black or not. He has African DNA running through his body, whether he likes it or not, Tiger Woods. The greatest golfer that has been, again, unanimously decided across cultures is of African descent. The greatest, I would argue, tennis player. I'm not even going to say female, arguably tennis player. Serena Williams, a beautiful blue, black, purple, chocolate queen, is the greatest tennis player the world has ever known. Even people who have watched tennis from the day of its inception have to, with reluctance, probably admit that. This woman has changed how tennis is done. When we think of swimming, we think of swimming. I can't remember that the sister's name, but there was a sister. I think she has ample medals. I think she's from the U.S. African sister. You know who I'm talking about. But amazing swimmer. All the myths and stereotypes about black people don't like water, but the minute we touch water, we still dominate. You can't touch us on the track. We even have a Jamaican bobsled team. There's not a piece of snow in Jamaica. And look at the fact that whenever we decide to enter into a domain, our physicality never proves us wrong. Exactly. But it goes beyond that. Not only are we physically strong, intellectually. Exactly. And I think this, Karl, is another key element that they especially wanted us to not know about. Because you know what? The physical piece, when we look at negative events, again, we're going to have time to talk about the negative events where our physicality, unfortunately, was relied on. But when we look at even the intellectual realm, there was almost particular attention of trying to degrade that. There was particular attention of trying to make us forget that for instance, father of medicine wasn't Hippocrates. He was a student of Imhotep, an African man, an Egyptian man, right? From the land of Egypt, which, yes, is in Africa. And yes, there was black people there. And yes, black people were pharaohs before people tried to deny that, right? So yes, there were African people who had beautiful black skin and beautiful woolly hair and beautiful broad noses. Imhotep is the father of medicine. Medicine takes intelligence. Of course. So imagine if we start teaching our black children that you don't have to aspire to be like Einstein. You can aspire to be like Imhotep. Wait a minute, what? You don't have to aspire to be some of these other white scientists. Like, there's no issue with them, but you can aspire to be like Dr. Manly West, who was a Jamaican pharmacologist who helped come up with a cure, or at least a treatment for glaucoma. People can look it up. When you think of the amount of intelligence that we as black people have demonstrated, and that's just a few, right? We haven't even got into some of the sisters that have contributed significantly. Well, we'll have ample time to talk about that. But my point is we are so amazing in so many different multifaceted realms. And we sometimes just need to stop and remember. Because unfortunately, we have so much time where we are discouraged from remembering. We have so much time where we are allotting to not remembering. You know what we're allotting it to? Surviving. And it's very difficult to remember who you are and to love who you are when you're surviving. But we want for today to be that 25, that 30 minutes of you taking the time to actually thrive, to love yourself, to see yourself as worthy, to see yourself as equal.
Creative,
innovative. You can actually take this time, whether you're listening to this right now as you're driving home, whether you're listening to this as you're stressed out, trying to put the kids to bed, while you're listening to this, while you're trying to survive at work. You can listen to this or view this and feel uplifted, to feel good. If I use just layman's terms, this is what it means to have. This is what this episode's about, and this is what this podcast is about. Because how on the earth, Brother Karl, can we rebuild a family? Can we rebuild communities if we can't even see the beauty in ourselves, let alone anybody else around us who resemble us? How can we do that?
But you can't. You won't do it.
You can't.
You can't do it.
Exactly. You can't do it.
And so what you've touched on here is, to me, there's something that helps to build us is those self-affirmations.
Very good.
And so this is not a futile exercise. It's supposed to be a continual exercise.
Very good.
When you see yourself in the mirror, when you think of yourself, when you think of being black, you are beautiful.
Absolutely.
You are creative.
Absolutely.
You are innovative. You are sharp, quick, alert, highly intelligent. I mean, you were made to make a difference. You are worthy of dignity and respect. You're worthy to be valued. People should treat you right, treat you good. You should never expect inferior treatment. Just think about that, because of who you are. Made in the image of God, in a beautiful black body, made to rule.
And it shouldn't be a request.
Exactly.
Too often we
I like that.
request to be treated. Thank you. You're asking to be
asking.
treated humanely. You're asking to be treated with dignity. What am I asking? I'm asking to be treated like a human being. Can you imagine? I have to request my humanity? I come from the oldest people on this planet. I demand that you treat me equal. But I'm not seeking out your validation. I expect it, but I'm not reliant on it. That's the difference. Some of our people, unfortunately, because they have not remembered the beauty of being black, they haven't remembered the beauty that comes with being of African descent, of having origins in Africa. Because they have forgotten that, they think that you have to request it. You have to request for other people to treat you as you should be treated. You have to request for other people to remind you, who don't resemble you, that you are beautiful. You have to help get them, you request for them to remind you. You request for their curriculums to reflect your beauty. When it needs to start with you. It needs to start with your family. It needs to start in your respective communities. That's where it needs to start.
That's where it needs to start.
And this is what you and I are talking about when we're talking about rebuilding the black family, rebuilding the black community, is it starts with us, and it should only be prioritized by us.
That's right.
Keyword priority.
Prioritize. Yeah.
Priority. It's not an add-on. It's not an extension. This is a priority. Because as I always say, in any intimate or grand circle that I have, there can be no other revolution before a psychological revolution. There can be no other revolution before a psychological revolution. And the first element of a psychological revolution is to first love not only yourself, but the people that resemble you. You want to love yourself and therefore be around people that resemble who you are. If you can't do that foundationally, how on the earth can you extend love to anybody else?
Now think about it, David. That's like being part of a family.
Very good.
You're part of a family. You realize a healthy family. Think about your own family. We're talking about Black is Beautiful today.
Very good.
That when you have a healthy, so when we're feeding a healthy self-image to
Very
you
good.
today. That when you look at yourself, that you're not ashamed of yourself.
Very good.
That you don't think too highly of yourself, but you think right about yourself. And think about the people in your family unit thinking right about themselves. So you think right about yourself, you think right about them, they're thinking right about one another. That is a healthy family.
Very good.
So when you talk about Black is Beautiful, what do we think we're talking about? Listen, you come from a line of kings and queens.
And scientists.
You come from a line of
and engineers.
Warriors.
Warriors. Sorry, I interrupted. I want to make sure that we have a very holistic
It's holistic,
understanding.
yeah.
Right? Because you think, yes, kings and queens and scientists and herbalists and chiefs and musicians and artists
Doctors.
and warriors,
Yep.
female and male.
Yep.
Let's not be sexist. There is female warriors, right? We came from matrilineal societies where the women
Women were
had power.
women were queens.
Queens.
Heads of entire countries for generations.
We need to understand this is your lineage. This is your lineage. This is who you have to look to when you're thinking about where can my motivation come from? Who can I look to for motivation? Of course, notwithstanding the fact that at our inner core is God, is the Most High, is the Creator who created all of this to manifest. When we can remember that, then we can start to see the difference in how we perceive the world, how we begin perceiving ourselves, let alone everybody else in that community. But as we wrap up today,
Thank you for joining us on the first episode of Rebuilding the Black Family. We're so glad that you could join us. And remember, we're here because we want to speak truth to you. Because as you know the truth makes you free.
Very
and
good.
you will fulfill your God-given purpose and destiny. So join us next time on the next Rebuilding the Black Family.
thank you.